welcome to Season 2, Episode 53 of One Man's Opinion. Today I am reviewing the national tour of Come From Away, currently making a run along the east coasts of the US and Canada through March and then jumping to the west coast through May. This is the third time I've reviewed Irene's Sankoff and David Hein's musical about the 7,000 people that were diverted to Gander, Newfoundland after the terrorist attacks in the United States on September 11, 2001. I've previously reviewed the show back when I was writing reviews for the newspaper I still work for when the musical was on Broadway and the first time the tour came through my neighborhood back around 2019. I love this show. In the 6 years that I've been reviewing theater, this is my favorite new musical, and of all the musicals I've seen and heard in the 25 years or so that I've been studying theater, this is my favorite musical of the 21st century and easily top 10 all time. A lot of my passion for Come From Away stems from a personal connection to the material. I was living in New York City at the time of the attack and had traveled to Paramus, New Jersey for a lighting gig that morning. I was a freelance lighting tech at the time. My boss got a call about the attacks, and we went to a bar nearby that had televisions just in time to see the second tower of the World Trade Center fall. We didn't know what to do, so we finished the job, went to a diner to get something to eat, and then headed back to Jersey City to see if the PATH train was running into the city so I can get home. The reality of the situation took time for it to take effect on me. The phone calls seemed impossible, the video footage was implausible. But if you know Jersey City, traveling to it from the west, you have to travel over a hill before you can see the New York City skyline. And things really started to sink in when I saw the entire southern tip of the island covered in smoke, the wind carrying it out into the harbor. Amazingly, the PATH train was running, and I was able to get into a packed train car of scared people trying to get back to their families. I didn't have any family in New York City, but tons of friends, one who happened to be a firefighter and thankfully survived the buildings collapsing. I came out of 34th Street Herald Square Station where the giant Macy's store is, where the Thanksgiving Day parade ends. This is 34th Street and Broadway, and there wasn't a soul in sight. No cars packing the city streets, the familiar sounds of honking horns, chattering people, bus hydraulics, crying children, and yelling parents, all were gone. Silence filled Manhattan, at least where I was, and I walked. I walked up Broadway in the middle of the street, unafraid of being hit by a bus or some lunatic cab driver. While I walked, I noticed there were only two locations where people were gathering, bars and houses of worship. I guess everyone finds solace where they feel most at home. I walked up Broadway in the middle of the street, making several stops along the way, making sure friends were okay, to the apartment I was living in at 93rd and Columbus Avenue. It was the most surreal experience of my life. Nearly 60 blocks of one of the most populated cities in the world empty. Once I got home, like the travelers in Gander, it was hard to stop watching the television, seeing the planes crash into the buildings over and over, and video footage of people falling to their deaths. Funny though, it wasn't then that I cried. I didn't cry at all that day. Like Bev says multiple times throughout Come From Away, my mind locked in on saying, I'm fine. It wasn't for another 5 years or so when I went to the Museum of Modern Art and someone had done a collage piece on the attacks that I first wept. It was cathartic. I don't know why this piece, I don't even remember the name of it or who did it, but it triggered emotions that apparently needed to be released. I didn't have another emotional reaction to anything regarding the September 11th attacks again until I walked into the Gerald Schoenfeld Theater to review a musical I knew nothing about called Come From Away. I like going to shows blind. It makes the experience a bit more unexpected. I was surprised at my seats as they were second-row orchestra. I hadn't had seats this close to the stage since the school I had attended had tickets to see The Iceman Cometh in 1999. By halfway through Welcome to the Rock, the musical's opening number, I knew what the show was going to be about, and I started crying, and I didn't stop for 100 minutes. I needed this show, and I didn't know it. The reason why I cried varied depending on the moment of the show. It was grief as I saw the Newfoundlanders react to the tragedy. It was empathy for the plain people as they sat in the 38 planes for as long as 28 hours with no answers to why they were rerouted to an island on the far east coast of Canada. It was compassion for the people of Gander attempting to communicate with people all over the world with translators and Bibles. It was grief again as Hannah, one of the plain people, attempts over and over to reach her son, who is a New York City firefighter, in I Am Here. It's peace as the various come-from-aways are able to find solitude to pray for their loved ones in prayer. It's unexpected joy as people find camaraderie with each other and screech in.
Farewell to all you pretty ladies waving from the dock. Heave away, me jollies, heave away. And if we do return to you, we'll make your cradles rock. Heave away, me jolly boys, we're all on the way.
The lander boys are leaving us alone. Heave away, me jollies, heave away. And if you find another, we got lovers of our own.
Heave away, me jolly boys, we're all on the way.
It's tragedy as Bev, who is the first female American Airlines pilot, sings about how the thing she loves most, the joy of flying, has been violated by the tyranny of the terrorists.
American Airlines had the prettiest planes, so I applied as a flight engineer. But the World War II pilots, they all complained. They said girls shouldn't be in the cockpit. Hey lady, hey baby, hey, why don't you grab us a drink? And the flight attendants weren't my friends back then, and they said, are you better than us, do you think? But I kept getting hired, and the World War II crew, they retired, and the girls all thought much higher of me. 1986, the first female American captain in history. Suddenly I'm in the cockpit. Suddenly I've got my wings. Suddenly all other pilots protesting me. Well, they can get their own drinks. Ha! Suddenly there's no one saying stay grounded. Looking down, passing them by. Suddenly there's nothing in between me and the sky.
But most of all, it's hope. I've never cried such tears of hope as when I first saw the musical in March of 2017. It's a hope that people can be good to each other and treat each other with compassion. That's why Come From Away is so important and why it holds such a dear place in my heart. It's a musical of hope. That when adversity strikes, people can put aside their petty differences and do better. Because, let's face it, most of what we complain about and fight over on a day-to-day basis is pretty petty and selfish. As for this Broadway tour, even upon third viewing, I still get moved to tears. I frankly don't know when I'll go through a viewing of Come From Away or even listening to the cast recording where I don't. There's something magical about Sankoff and Hein's musical arrangements, how the movements transition and modulate into tempos in tandem with the rhythmic patterns create emotional shifts that always feel natural. Director Christopher Ashley's and Kelly Devine's musical staging of the characters moving around from beat to beat, changing costumes over and over on stage in split-second precision, it all works. This, of course, would not be as seamless as it is without an excellent cast, and there are some standouts in this tour that deserve recognition. Julia Nittell is delightful as the green television news reporter Janice. She gives the role a quirky awkwardness that is both charming and comical. James Earl Jones II, yes, that is his name, and no, he's not the son of the actor James Earl Jones, though according to a Broadway World interview, they are distant cousins. He plays Bob and various other roles. It's his portrayal as Bob, though, which is quite hysterical as he expresses his justifiable paranoia of being one of the few black people in a sea of white people, concerned about people stealing his wallets and then concerned about people shooting him for taking the barbecues at the behest of the nearby town's mayor. Both Nittell and Jones II have the brilliant shining energy necessary to make Come From Away really come to life. And that's not to say that the other cast members don't, but these two in particular were really special the night that I was in attendance. There is not a show out right now that I wouldn't recommend more for people to see than Come From Away. It's every emotion, joy, love, despair, grief, hope, fear, paranoia, compassion, and more, all rolled into a 100-minute musical with 12 actors and a balletic and poetic expression of arts that rarely graces the stage. For me, Come From Away is necessary. If not for the salve to the soul like it has been for me, then for the inspiration that it can give to others to just be good to people, treat them with respect, help those in need, and find the blessings that come with it. But I am only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see Come From Away, I'll leave a link in the description where you can see the show's upcoming schedule and get tickets. You can support my channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Click the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. This is the last review of the 2022 calendar year. I was supposed to see the collaboration on December 22nd, but my tickets were canceled due to an actor contracting COVID and will be rescheduled sometime in the new year. As an Outer Critics Circle Awards voter, this happens more often than you'd think. As my calendar currently stands, the next show I'm reviewing is Between Riverside and Crazy on Broadway. There are going to be a few changes in the new year to the channel. Most prominently will hopefully be the launch of a Patreon page where, with your donation to my channel, you'll be privy to exclusive content, and maybe, if you're lucky and generous enough, you'll be able to attend a show here in Connecticut or in New York City with me. There will also be a new show, which will hopefully launch in March if everything goes according to schedule. Thank you for sticking with me through this longer than usual review. My written reviews have word count limits, so I haven't been able to fully express why this show is so important to me until now. I thank you for your continued support. I will see you in the new year, and I will see you at the theater.